right. That is as good of an introduction as I could ever hope for anyone to do as I step up to this awesome task. But I was really excited and fired up about this challenge, and after listening to these last 2 or 3 statements, it's almost intimidating. But it's very unique when you have an opportunity to come back to an institution where you've already worked, especially when it's an opportunity to be the head football coach. I think that whatever or whomever would have been chosen for this job had stepped up to this podium, they would look at it with an awesome respect, with an excitement, with the enthusiasm to get it done. But it's even more special to me because I've been here. The things that Dr. Saunders has already mentioned, the winning seasons, the bowl wins, the most wins in a season this year in the history of the program. It's a challenge, but it's an exciting challenge. So I cannot tell you how honored I am to have this opportunity to be here and to address this group. And it's really, at this stage of my career, it is absolutely the most exciting thing that's happened to me at this time. I want to stop at this point. I want to introduce my wife. With all due respect to everyone in here, she will be the #1 Golden Eagle fan. She actually likes football better than I do. Football is my vocation. Football is her avocation. But she has been a tremendous supporter of mine. It will take her a very short while to become a true Golden Eagle. And again, she will be the #1 Golden Eagle fan, and has meant so much to me as I've taken on new challenges with our family, and we're excited about this one. I'm a little bit disappointed that Seymour didn't show up. I asked Dr. Saunders, I said, Seymour could be in Hawaii or could be here for my announcement, and he went to Hawaii. And she said, you have to understand there's someone in that costume, and it's a college student. So I'm going to have to take that and accept that. Dr. Saunders also told me during some of our discussions, she said that she hoped to be here, I think, until she either quit or she died. And I said, well, can I have the same contract? And she said, absolutely. And someone told me that Bear Underwood is in the audience, and I haven't found him yet. There he is. When I first came to Southern Miss, I was hired as defensive coordinator. And then I remember meeting P.W. He would have us out to some cookouts and other activities, and knew a little bit about his reputation. But before he was a head coach, he was the defensive coordinator. And there was a little pressure from him for me to try to fill his shoes, and I always had great respect for him. I've also had the unique opportunity to either meet or work for the past 7 coaches at the University of Southern Mississippi. And if you just look at your history, I don't want to go back through it. Dr. Saunders has done a better job of recapping and recounting the history, the accomplishments, and the wonderful people that have worked at this university, and especially in the football program over the past number of years. Your history and your tradition is something that you have to have almost unbelievable pride, and I can't tell you what an honor it is to have the opportunity to lead your football program. I want to talk a little bit about, I was asked in the interview, why do you want this job? And I told the committee and I told Dr. Saunders there's a 2-part answer to that. Number one, you have to look at yourself. Why do I want to be the head coach here? Personally, I still had that itch to be a head coach again. I also did not want to move my family at this stage in my career unless it was for an opportunity to be a head coach where you can be successful. And I know you can do that at Southern Miss. The other part is about the University of Southern Mississippi. Southern Miss, the tradition, the accomplishments, and the challenges of trying to meet those same standards that have been reached is going to be not only a challenge, but it's going to be invigorating. It's going to be energizing. There's nothing that coaches and players love more than something to compete with. And just to try to compete with the accomplishments of the previous coaches that have come through here is going to be energizing in and of itself. I've had a great professional relationship with Larry over the last few years. We first met, I was interviewed at Oklahoma State. We formed a professional bond and a friendship through the phone, really. And I've got great respect for what he's accomplished. I think he's one of the great offensive coaches in our profession today, and hope that we can continue the exciting offense and the productive offense that he's produced. It will not vary very much at all. It will be the spread. It will be the fast tempo. It will be the shotgun. For those of you who understand football terms, this offensive system is not going to change very much. I also want to bring exciting defense. I thought that the difference in winning a championship here and just entertaining people over the last 4 years was defense. And obviously, the most overlooked and sometimes underappreciated aspects is the kicking game. And if you'll look at your kicking game, it was tremendously successful this year. They were in the top 20 in almost every category. So it takes a lot of elements in a program to win a championship. So I assure you we will have an exciting offense. And I assure you that it will be something that will entertain you when you sit down in the stadium to watch the Golden Eagles play. But I also want to win championships, and we're going to do everything we can and leave no stone unturned in trying to do that. What is the future for Southern Miss under my leadership? I learned this from Coach Spurrier. When you take on a task such as this, you want to study the history of the program, and you want to try to find something that has not been done before. I think that he may reach the all-time career wins at the University of South Carolina before he wins. I hope he can do that. I've been proud to have been a part of most of that. But when I take on this program, I look for something that we've never been able to do before. Frankly, there's very little left. It's intimidating, but it's also challenging. But if I could tell you one thing that is going to drive me as the head football coach of your program, I want to take the University of Southern Mississippi. I want to take the Golden Eagles to a BCS football game and win it. I don't want to belabor this issue. The system in college football is the system. So we exist within the system. We're going to fight the system, and that's where we're going to try to accomplish this. They deserve to go this year, but we didn't. And I hope that that's one step we can take. There are a lot of shelves that need to be filled with accomplishments, trophies, awards, championships. There are not too many shelves left for this program, and that's a compliment to the Golden Eagles. What's been accomplished here in the past will be a motivating factor, and we intend, once I assemble a staff and get these players back together and start working toward a common goal, we intend to try to reach some task, reach some goal and some height in this program that has not been reached before. And you'll have all of our efforts in trying to do so. I'm an unpleasant loser too. And Dr. Saunders spoke of the unpleasant loss 2 years ago at our stadium. When I left the University of Southern Mississippi, when I left Southern Miss, and I've got to start saying Southern Miss. When I left Southern Miss, I went to the University of Alabama. And Coach Stallings slipped a couple of times during the week that we were getting ready to open up with the Eagles. And he called it Mississippi Southern because that's what it was back when he coached for the Bear. And unfortunately, when they left after that next Saturday and Brett and the Golden Eagles had beaten us, we figured out the right name. I tried to tell him during the week, but Brett told us that Saturday. So there are other goals and things that I'd like to accomplish, but I think those are things that you set with your football team. So as we put this thing together with staff and players, we will sit down and we'll gather and we'll try to decide what goals we want to reach season to season and other things that we want to accomplish. But I hope within my time here, it will be the goal to take this program to a BCS football game and come out with a victory. But we want to open up the questions, or will that simply be for the media?
We can do, Jim?
If any of the members of the media want to ask Coach a few questions, you're welcome to this time. Coach, are you going to coach South Carolina in the bowl game, and what's your timetable?
My intentions are to come to work and get ready to coach Southern Miss as soon as possible. And there are two things. Obviously, that's always a difficult decision. The players that you've been working with for the past 4 years, it's a very difficult separation. We also played Nebraska, and I'd like to have that experience to go out and find out what our opener is going to be like next year. But right now I work for the Golden Eagles, and all of my efforts and all of my thoughts will be toward building this program. And I don't want to be a distraction to the University of South Carolina or their program. So it is my intentions to start work here immediately.
How familiar are you with the current personnel? How confident are you in their ability?
I have watched them play. I've not sat down and watched any film. I've studied the roster, saw the entire championship game. I'll be frank with you, I've not studied all the particular losses and returning players. I know this. I know there's a great nucleus of players coming back. I think that Larry and his staff have done an outstanding job of recruiting. You obviously got some great players that are leaving. But I will not say that I am extremely familiar with that roster. And my philosophy is when I come in the door, it's all brand new. And I know there'll be players who have accomplished some things here. We'll find out who our leaders are. But that's the way I feel like I like to do it. I want to come in and I want to find out who those leaders are myself.
Coach Johnson, do you have a timetable set on getting your own staff in place here at Southern Miss?
That is a process, even when you go into your interview stage, everyone wants to know who you're going to assemble as a staff. It's a process that's very difficult to predict because honestly, you're flooded with people who want to come to work here. The program is very well respected, not across the nation with fan base. The program has tremendous respect in the coaching ranks. So I know that I'll have no shortage of absolutely outstanding candidates. I want to speak to some of those that choose not to go to North Carolina. I have 2 or 3 what I would say are linchpins that I intend to try to get on board as soon as I possibly can. I do not intend to talk about those people at this point in time because I don't feel like that's proper for me to violate their privacy. But I have some targets and some candidates, and if I can get those linchpins, then I build the staff with them. The head coach is the head coach, but there has to be a chemistry within an offensive staff, within a defensive staff, and you have to have guys that can work together. And I do not intend to go out and pick 9 coaches and put them in a room together. I want some input and some cooperation with the guys that I start my staff with.
Coach, would that be safe to say the coordinators come first?
Coordinators and assistant head coach. And my organizational philosophy on that, I want an assistant head coach that I have no doubt understands me, understands exactly what will run through this program as a common thread, and I want him to be able to take that into other areas, whether it be recruiting, administration, liaison, issues that you did not know is as important, but equipment, training, all of these support areas, you all have to be pulling in the same direction. It is really with the new rules that have been implemented by the NCAA, there are individuals within your athletic program who have more personal contact with your players in the course of a year than you do as a full-time coach. So those people are very important to me, and I want an assistant head coach who I feel like is almost an extension of me who can handle some of those matters. Rick?
This is from one 59-year-old to another. That's one thing it's going to raise people's eyebrows, being 59 years old and becoming a head coach at a new school. Talk about that and how many years you think you can coach.
Well, I appreciate you saying 59. I'll be 60 in 3 days. And my mom told me I was 3 days late, so, you know. But I've had no complaints from Caroline. And at least none I want to share. So. And my 11-year-old, my 9-year-old, and my 7-year-old, they're pretty tough. I've kept up with them pretty well. But on a serious note, I'm in great health. I didn't have to take on a head coaching job at my stage in my career. Well established financially, professionally. I was living at home. It was just too good of an opportunity to pass up. But I really feel like that it's one of the, I have great health, great energy, and this situation energizes you from an emotional standpoint. So I have no problems and no qualms about the energy level that it takes. I'm perfectly ready to go to work. There are some elements of being a head coach that are a little bit more taxing, but it doesn't get much more difficult than being a coordinator in the SEC. That's a demanding job.
Talk about your level of confidence as far as recruiting goes. You've been here and several other places in the Southeast region. Just talk about your, level of confidence coming to a place like this and being able to recruit.
Well, the first thing you have to have is a good product to sell. So I don't want to shortchange the fact that I'm going to be recruiting for a program that just has unbelievable tradition and history. We have absolutely, obviously talked about that enough up here. I think that's said and said enough. It was my experience when I coached here that players in this region love this environment. I disagree with a lot of people who say that all these football players are looking for is a 4-year combine, national TV, and a chance to go to the NFL. A lot of them are looking at the environment. They want a degree. Many of their parents are absolutely focused on them getting a degree. They're concerned about the environment. Their kids are going to go to school. Very often they're first-generation college. So there are a lot of aspects about recruiting that I think Southern Miss has a lot to offer, and I think we have to do the proper job of presenting it. When speaking of me personally, my recruiting style is to, I don't believe in selling. I believe in trying to convince that we have what the young man wants. I want him to make his own decision instead of me try to make his mind up for him or try to trick him into anything. I've developed a very close relationship. I signed a #1 player in America last year at the University of South Carolina, a program that has never won but one conference championship, had never at that time been to the SEC championship, had not won but 2 or 3 bowls in the history of their school. And because of distance, because of my relationship that I developed, because of a former player that had played with him in high school that I'd recruited, and how he viewed me and that program, and that's how I think you recruit. We've got a great product to sell, and I'm going to hire staff, and recruiting will be one of the primary qualifications for these guys. There are a lot of good coaches out there. There are more good coaches out there than there are coaching jobs. And I mean that, I'm very serious. There are great coaches out there who are unemployed. But recruiting, to me, is a very, very important aspect of how we put the staff together. I have no doubt we can recruit great players here. And we're not going to shy off from recruiting the ones who have the opportunity to play at the BCS level and the SEC level. I don't know what our batting average will be, but I think there are players who will like this environment and like what we have and some of the things that Dr. Saunders has already alluded to. I think we can sell Southern Miss.
Any other questions?
Coach, this is a heck of a Christmas present, isn't it?
Well, I'm going to take this as the birthday present and then maybe get something else for Christmas. When I was little, I got the 2-for-1s. And now that I'm old, everybody remembers your birthday somewhere around Christmas, isn't it? So they don't ever forget. So it's been the worst in worst situation you could have, but it is. And what a wonderful time for my family. We're blessed and honored to have this opportunity. And whether it's for my birthday or I've already got a nice tie from Mark. But whether it's for my birthday or Christmas, what a wonderful thing to happen right now for me and my family.
Thanks so much, Coach.
Thank
Do
you.
we need to lead them in the chill one more time? Come
Mark,
on.
can you do this?
And it's just Southern Miss,
Okay, we'll do this one more time. Okay, Coach, you do it.
Southern Miss.
Southern Miss. Say it.
not hard.
That's all you have to say.
One more time. Southern Miss.
Stop! There you go. Wonderful.